And go. Now, this is Dominaria United spoiler hype video number 4. So, next up, we're going to talk about Lightning Strike. One red, one colorless. Lightning Strike deals for an instant that says Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to any target. Not quite a lightning bolt, but anytime red has damage, people are going to snap that up. So that's going to be useful, playable, and probably annoying because it's a red damage spell. Next up is Resolute Reinforcements. 1 white and 1 for a 1/1 human soldier with flash. It says when Resolute Reinforcements enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So for 2 mana, you get 2 1/1 white tokens, and you can play this, with flash. So you can get 2 instant chump blockers. Useful, useful, useful. Next up is Micromancer, which is 1 blue and 3 for a 3/3 human wizard. When Micromancer enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 1, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So low casting, 1 casting cost, instant and sorcery spells. That's cool, especially if you're playing, blue counter or blue red counter burn. There's your card. Next up is another powerful card that it has a part that we saw in the Mark Rosewater spoilers. This is Astor, Bearer of Blades. Excuse me. 1 red and 1 white and 2 colorless for a 4/4 legendary human warrior. When Astor, Bearer of Blades, enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equipment you control have equipped for 1 colorless. Vehicles you control have crew 1. And that's one of those things we saw in the Rosewater spoilers. So this is insanely powerful. 4 mana for a 4/4 creature is good enough on its own. But it searches the top 7 cards of your library for a creature or a vehicle, and then reduces the cost to the absolute bare minimum. I mean, it's not quite as good as Bruenor Battlehammer, but if you're playing in like a modern deck and playing this with Bruenor Battlehammer, oh my, dear. I mean, or if you're playing like a Tron deck where you're building building your Voltron whatever. This dude, I mean, you can do all sorts of nasty stuff with this dude. Hoo-ha. Next up is another very powerful card that I've seen, and it's Defiler of Vigor. 2 green, 3 colorless for a 6/6 trample Phyrexian worm. That also has, as an additional cost to cast green permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. These spells cost 1 green less to cast if you paid life in this way. This effect only reduces the amount of green mana you pay. And whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Hoo-ha! I mean, for five mana for a 6/6 trample, that's powerful in its own right. But then it has this revised Phyrexian, mana cost thing that we've seen in other cards. That is also powerful, and of course, with all these other cards, it also has an effect following it. Whenever you cast a spell of that color, it does something. And this, whenever you cast a green permanent spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures. You don't want this guy on the board. No. So, moving right along, here is another, I'd say, very powerful card. This is Najal, the Storm Runner. 2 blue and a red and 2 colorless for a 5/4 legendary Ifrit wizard. It says you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Yikes! Whenever Najal, the Storm Runner, attacks, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for that copy. Yahoo! So, your sorcery spells have flash, which means they can be played like instants. And you can, when this attacks at a 5/4 for 5 mana, which is decent, when this attacks, you can pay 2 and fork a spell. Yeah, that's fun. Next up is Tolarian Geyser. 1 blue and 2 for a sorcery with kicker for 1 white. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. If this spell was kicked, you gain 3 life. Holy shnikes. This is super powerful. I mean, already, without it even being kicked, you return a creature to its owner's hand. So you bounce a creature. Yeah, it's a sorcery. It's not an instant. But if you're playing with Najal that we just talked about, you can cast it like an instant. Oopsies. So you can bounce a spell, bounce a creature back to its owner's hand, and you get to draw a card. And if you kick it, you gain 3 life. What's not to like about that card? Next up is a planeswalker we knew was going to be in this set. It's Karn, Living Legacy. For four colorless, you get a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Karn. Its +1 loyalty ability, create a tapped Power Stone token. It's an artifact that says tap, add 1 colorless mana. This mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell. Its -1 ability, loyalty ability, says pay any amount of mana, look at that many cards from the top of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. So basically, like a mini tutor for -1 loyalty. That's not bad at all. Its -7 loyalty is you get an emblem with tap, an untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's kind of a weak ability, but think about it. Karn's creating all these little Power Stone artifacts, and you can use them to basically Timmy, which is an old term for just use 1 damage to any target. I'll probably do a video on that at some point. But you can hit any target for 1 damage with all these little Power Stone artifacts. So yeah, and if you're playing Karn, you might be playing a lot of other artifacts as well. So, and this also includes your vehicles, which are still considered artifacts. So this can be useful to a degree. Moving on, we have Tolarian Terror. For a beefy 1 blue and 6, you get a 5/5 Serpent. This spell costs 1 colorless less to cast for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. Well, we've talked a lot about decks that rely on instants and sorceries, so that's going to be a thing here. It also has Ward 2, so if you get it out on the board, it's going to be harder to get rid of. Next up is Stall for Time. For 1 white and 2 colorless, you get an instant with kicker 1 blue and 1 colorless. It says tap up to 2 target creatures. If this spell was kicked, put a stun counter on each of these creatures. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove a stun counter from it instead, and then draw a card. So you tap 2 creatures, put a stun counter on each of them, and you draw a card. Next up is Take Up the Shield. 1 white and 1. For an instant, it says put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains lifelink and indestructible till end of turn. What's not to like about that? Protection for a creature, it gets bigger, and then it has lifelink. So if you're using it as a blocker, you can protect it from bigger creatures. It gets a little bit bigger, and you get life from that. That's gonna be a super useful, super powerful, super in-demand card. Watch out for that one. Next up is Toxic Abomination. 1 black and 1 for a 3/2 Phyrexian zombie. When Toxic Abomination enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life. Low casting costs 3/2, but you still got to pay that 2 life. But there's always, you're playing black, there's always ways to make up that. Okay, following up is Tattered Apparition. 1 black and 3 colorless for a 2/2 Flying Shade that has 1 black and 1. Tattered Apparition gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So it's pumpable. Wonderful. Okay, we have Vine Shaper Prodigy. 1 green and 1 for a 2/2 Elf Druid with kicker 1 blue and 1. When Vine Shaper Prodigy enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, you kick it, you get a mini tutor. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, next up is another card that is in Japanese text, so I'm going to have to read the translation of it. This is Tobias. 1 white, 1 blue, and 2 colorless for a 2/2 legendary, I would guess human warrior based on the picture, with flash. When Tobias dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each non-token you control that died this turn. Oh, you board wiped me? Oh, Tobias! Oh, I'm just gonna knock him off. And all of a sudden I have all these black zombie creatures. Yahoo! Well, my video's getting long, so we're gonna end it here and say goodbye for now. I'll see you on the next video. Out.